DA Gauteng legislature member Khume Ramulifho has resigned from that party. He's the latest prominent figure to jump ship after being with the organization for 25 years. Ramulifho says the DA deviated from its mandate of being inclusive for all South Africans. He'll now be joining the newly formed Rise Mzansi. Let's continue with reaction. This time bring in DA member and former Joburg mayor, Dr. Mpho Phalatse, who joins us via our video link this morning. Dr. Phalatse, it's lovely to catch up with you once again. Thanks so much indeed for speaking to us here on Newzroom Afrika. And, you know, a lot has been said about the kind of contribution that Khume was able to make to the Democratic Alliance. And if your own reaction is anything to go by, this is something that can't be glossed over. So I wonder, as a start, what you reckon the DA has effectively lost with his resignation?
Let me start by talking about my own personal experience of Khume Ramulifho. I joined active politics in 2015, became a public rep in 2016, and I still recall that walk from Joburg Metro after Herman had announced me NMC. We were walking across to the Joburg Theatre for the press conference. It was Khume Ramulifho, who was then the Joburg chairperson for the DA, who said to me, "But you can't do anything else." And it was at that point that I realized my life is about to change drastically. So quite a pivotal moment in politics that I shared with him, but there were several others. It was after Mmusi Maimane left the Democratic Alliance. A lot of us were dejected. Mmusi was leaving, really shook us, even though I was already in office. I reached out to him. We had a sit down and we spoke about what now. And he gave me hope that we could still hold on to the Democratic Alliance and continue to build a very inclusive community within the DA to later on. There were several other instances when I decided to put my hand up to contest for federal leader of the DA. I had a sit down with Khume Ramulifho. He was honest to say to me, "You've entered the race quite late. I don't know what your chances will be, but, you know, all the best," and so on and so forth. So he's always been the voice that I would run to. As a black person in the DA, he's always been an elder, a big brother. And I know that he's been a pillar for a lot of us in the DA, primarily because of his long history in the party and its different eras, and how he was always resilient through all the challenges. He really stood for what the DA stands for, and he gave us that hope that we can all one day see that rainbow nation.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me apologize to our viewers, Dr. Phalatse. Our connection to you isn't the greatest, but it's somewhat stabilized now. I'm hoping it'll play ball. So what happens now to that hope that you speak of? I mean, this is such a glowing kind of review of not only Khume the man, but certainly Khume the leader.
Absolutely. I was shattered to learn of him.
Okay, Dr. Phalatse, I'm loath to do this, but I'm going to just have to ask that we reestablish our connection to you. It's really not great, and I think this has the potential to be a really fruitful conversation as we think about, you know, even just the elections, the crop of leaders we have, and maybe instances where organizations ought to be reflecting in the lead up to such a crucial moment in our election cycle. So, Dr. Mpho Phalatse, please indulge us as we try re-establish that connection. Let's try continue our conversation with DA member Dr. Mpho Phalatse, who has also, of course, been the former Joburg mayor, as we bring reaction to the resignation of Khume Ramulifho from the organization itself. And Dr. Phalatse, thanks for your indulgence and apologies for that technical gremlin. I just thought it's worth having a much clearer line to you, given, I think, the many important things that you've mentioned. Before we had to halt our conversation temporarily there, you were speaking about just how shell-shocked it sounds you were from Khume's resignation.
Yes, I was. And I was just mentioning how Khume used to be part of a brotherhood in the Democratic Alliance that a lot of us used to look up to. Some of the members of that brotherhood were people like John Moody, who left, people like Bongani Baloyi, who left, subsequently started his own party. And when Makafila Ghana left, I looked at it and I thought, only Khume remains. And I remember calling him and saying, "I hope you're not next." And again, he gave me assurance he would stay the course and help us build and deal with the challenges that we felt needed to be dealt with within our organization. So it's quite shattering for me to see the day where he finally does leave. I'm looking around for similar elders. Hopefully.
Oh dear, we're really having a field day with our connection to Dr. Phalatse, aren't we? All right, we'll have to give this another shot at a different time. What a pity, because I think, there's calls for introspection which have been ongoing for quite some time in the DA, and Dr. Mpho Phalatse adding to that chorus. I'm really hoping we'll be able to pick up the conversation at a different time. But for now, your highs and lows for this Wednesday ahead, up to the minute headlines. When I see you at 8 o'clock. I'm told Dr. Phalatse is back. Dr. Phalatse, perhaps a third time lucky, if you're able to just finish your thought there.
Yes, I was saying that it's quite devastating. I'm looking around personally as a black person in the DA for black elders in the party, and it's important for me as a black person to have those people, to know that I'm not alone, while we fight for the plight of African people in South Africa within the organization. And hopefully we will reach out to each other and we will continue the fight. I wish Khume everything of the best where he's going. It's a huge loss to us as a party. We continue to look inwardly, and I certainly think we need to introspect as to why we're losing such good leaders. I do believe that if there's anything we can do to change, we need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Has this latest departure, Dr. Phalatse, had you perhaps considering your own political future?
Well, as I've said, I still remain a member of the Democratic Alliance, and we always look around. We always search for possible alternatives. Personally, I've not found any, and I'll tell you why. On the other side of elections, on the other side of the politics, lies a very huge role, and that's the role of delivering South Africa from the ruins that it finds itself in to a capable state. And that's going to take a tried and tested machinery. And unfortunately in South Africa right now, that machinery is the Democratic Alliance. We've got the greatest experience of good governance, and we've got what it takes to really deliver our country from where we find ourselves at the moment. There aren't any other alternatives. Unfortunately, while there are many parties being formed, none of them have the kind of governance experience that is required at this moment in South Africa in its current state to turn this country around. Therefore, I will stick with the Democratic Alliance, and whatever challenges are there on the inside, I'll hope that I can be part of the voices that provides direction towards a better DA.
Yeah, I, at least from my vantage point, feel like you've given a very honest account of what the DA at the very least has lost over the past couple of years. And that's hard to come by, dare I say, because I think as soon as you open yourself up to that, people see that as a criticism of the organization in one way or the other. You've publicly called for introspection. I wonder if there's been any kind of response to that from the leadership.
No, I've not heard from the leadership. I will also be honest. I will never trash my party. I still believe in the DA. I believe South Africa needs the DA, but I will speak the truth where we need to introspect and self-correct.
Sure. All right. Dr. Mpho Phalatse, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. And again, apologies for the technical gremlins we face, but I think by and large your sentiment has been well captured. Dr. Phalatse, of course, former Joburg mayor and a current member of the DA, at least as you and I speak this Wednesday morning.